All right, so in today's lecture session, we'll be looking at the relationship between Nepal and UK. Okay, so UK is the first, the entity, or England specifically, the first nation with which Nepal had the foreign relationship. Okay, so before, I think we're talking about like more than 200 years ago. At that time, the country that we know now as India, it did not exist. Okay, so our relationship with UK is that old, right? So the relationship between the two entities, Nepal and UK, happened even like during the Anglo-Nepal War. Okay, so it was during sometime in 1815. Okay, so when the basically the England or the UK started recruiting the Nepali Gurkha soldiers into their army. Okay, so when we talk about the Anglo-Nepal War, okay, so this was a time when the East India Company was basically in control of the land that we call India in the present time. Okay, so it's basically controlling the commerce and trade in India. Okay, so it had its own territorial expansion, ambitions. So it was trying to expand, its territory, and in Nepal, that we call present-day Nepal, the Gorkha kingdom was also expanding its land in a sense. So the Gorkha kingdom at the time was, let's say, was the region that we call like Sikkim, like Darjeeling, Morung, like Kumaon, Garhwal, like Dehradun, Sirmaur. So these were also the part of the kingdom, the Gorkha kingdom at the time. Okay, so basically, with the two like a power entities struggling to expand their territories, the conflict was basically bound to happen there. Okay, so this was one aspect for the Anglo-Nepal War. Okay, the another aspect was the trade or the economic region. Okay, so the East India Company at that time wanted to expand its trade to Tibet, the land of Tibet. Okay, so Nepal was not basically letting any merchant, like English merchant, through Nepal. Okay, so the common saying in Nepal at the time was that with the merchants, with the British merchant, would come the musket, would come the guns. Okay, and with the Bible comes the bayonet, right? The sword type. Okay, so that was the common theme among the Nepalese at that time. They really didn't want British to use any of the Nepalese land for anything. Okay, commerce, anything, right? So the East India Company wanted that, Nepalese didn't want that. Okay, so this was another reason why the Anglo-Nepal War happened at the time. Okay, so this war continued from 1814 till 1816. Okay, so the East India Company, along with the help from the individual kingdoms inside the present-day India, so Garhwal Kingdom, okay, Patiala Kingdom, and the Kingdom of Sikkim, they joined hands with the East India Company to wage war against the Gorkha Kingdom, or the Kingdom of Gorkha. Okay, so this war was fought by the basically the East India Company under like 5 different fronts. Okay, so Nepal, the Gorkha Kingdom at the time was pretty wide stretched in terms of defending itself. Okay, so even though Nepal was outnumbered in numbers, like in terms of like the soldiers of the army, it showed like a valor or bravery in this war. Okay, consequently, in 1815, what British started doing was it started recruiting the brave warriors from the land of Kumaon and Garhwal in its own regiment. Okay, so initially it was not called as the Gorkha Regiment. Okay, so initially the name given to this regiment that was recruited from the land that was captured by the Kingdom of Gorkha, it's called Naziri Regiment. Okay, so we're talking about 1815 at the time. So later on, this regiment was then renamed as the first King George's own Gorkha Rifle. Okay, so that's the small history of the Gorkha regiment in the British, basically for the British Empire. Okay, so this Anglo-Nepal War was fought under like a 5 fronts. Okay, so the first division was intended the intended target was Makwanpur. Okay, so this is called the Battle of Makwanpur Gadi. Okay, the second division was at the region called it's the present-day India. It's called Kumaon and Garhwal. Okay, and the third division was at the Dehradun. Okay, the present-day India. The fourth division was at the hilly region near Sutlej region, and the last division, where the last British front, was at the regions over the Koshi River. Okay, so even though it was being attacked under 5 different fronts, it was able to Nepal, the kingdom of Gorkha, was able to basically defend itself in 2 regions, but in 3 regions. In the 3 fronts, Nepal basically lost the battle because it was vastly outnumbered. Okay, even though that was the case, you can read the brave details about the war for the Gorkha soldiers at the time. Okay, there's like several books written for this time. Okay, so consequently, when Nepal lost this Anglo-Nepal War, okay, Nepal had to sign a treaty with the East India Company. Okay, so because of that, Nepal lost a big portion of its land, the land that it conquered, I think about 10 years before, to the British Empire. Okay, not only that, it also lost a sizable portion of the land, the region in Tarai, to the East India Company. Okay, so because Nepal lost the fertile land in the Tarai, so one of the clauses in the Sugoi Treaty was that the British government or the East India Company would pay the 200,000 rupees of the time to the Nepali government. Okay, because of the loss of the productivity. Okay, from the Tarai region, but the East India Company could not rule the Tarai region. Okay, so what it did was, instead of paying the 200 or 2 lakh rupees to the Nepali or the Gorkha kingdom, it stopped giving the 2 lakh rupees. So instead, it gave a few portion of land of the Tarai back to the Gorkha kingdom. Okay, so this is a synopsis of Sugoi Treaty, where Nepal lost a big, a sizable portion of land to the East India Company. Okay? All right. Okay, so since 1815, okay, so basically the British Empire started recruiting Gorkha soldiers into its own army. Okay, so initially it was from the regions of Kumaon and Garhwal, then started recruiting from the Gorkha kingdom itself as well. Okay. All right. So with regards to the contribution of the Gorkha soldiers to the Great Britain or UK. Okay. So there was this rebellion in India around 1850s. Okay, so this was more than 150 years ago, right? So at that time, the people in India started rebelling against the East India Company. Okay, so the Gorkha recruits, what they did was they helped to basically silence the mutiny or the rebellion. Okay, so this is called a Sepoy mutiny. Okay. And the key role, the person who played the key role from the Nepali side was Janga Bahadur Rana. Okay, for his contribution to subdue the Sepoy mutiny, the East India Company actually gave back 4 different districts back to from the Tarai region back to Nepal. Okay, so these districts are Bankhe district, Bardia, Kailali, and Kanchanpur. Okay, initially it lost these regions to the East India Company. Then, because Nepali side helped the East India Company, then it got back about 30%, 33% of the land back because it was able to win the favor. Okay, so if you look at the, still like if you look at like how Nepal was during the rise of the Gorkha, the Gorkha kingdom, you will see many parts like from like Sikkim till like the Garhwal region. Okay, it was like the greater Nepal in a sense, right? Okay, then if we look at the person, the first like a person to the prominent person to visit the UK, that would be the Janga Bahadur Rana. Okay, so this was the time when Nepal started contributing to the British government in terms of the, let's say, the recruits and so on, because we also look at we should look at the world war, the two world wars, and Nepal's contribution to basically the Allies or to Great Britain in particular. Okay, almost like more than 500,000 soldiers in each war, right? Okay, and also England had war with the Argentina. Okay, not long ago. It was like I think about 30 years ago. So that war is called Falkland War. Okay, it's a small island near Argentina. So Argentina, the Argentinian government, it basically invaded the island, which was controlled by England. Okay, so because Argentinian soldiers were in the land, then there was a war between England and Argentina. And the British recruit, the Gurkha regiment, played a crucial part in liberating the army from the Argentinian government or Argentinian soldiers. Okay, that's also another contribution from the Gurkha soldiers who are basically recruited into the British military. Okay, not only that, wherever there's like wherever there's a British interest, like in terms of like a military interest, you will find that this Gurkha recruits played an important role in there. For example, in Afghanistan, there's several like a conflict regions around the world, wherever like British soldiers would send their soldiers, Nepalese or these soldiers of Nepalese origin played a crucial role in those missions. Okay, so in terms of the relationship between the two countries, so Britain was the first country to have their embassy in Nepal. Okay, so one of the consequences of the loss or the defeat of the Anglo-Nepal War of 1814 or 1816 would be that prior to that, okay, Nepal basically did not allow any of the British representative to be in the land of Nepal. Okay, they were totally against the idea of basically, foreign like a representative in their land, especially like, from this people who don't really observe their religion, like totally different from there in terms of culture, in terms of religion, language, right? So after the defeat of the Anglo-Nepal War, okay, so one of the clauses mentioned that the British government will have their representative stationed in Nepal. Okay, so Nepal had to agree to that, right? So that was the basically the beginning of the bilateral relationship between Nepal and the UK, right? And also, especially during the Rana regime, right? UK saw many state visits from the rulers at the time, okay, including the education for the Rana families in the UK, the different like top universities there, top schools, right? Okay, so this is a short video. In this video, you'll see the first time when the high level, basically the level up to the king or queen, visiting Nepal. Okay, so before that, even though there were like visits by some, military head or some other officials. So this is a time when the head of the state actually visited Nepal. And this is shortly after the head of the state of Nepal, which was King Mahendra at the time, uh, after they visited the UK. So subsequently, you have the visit from the Queen Elizabeth II to Nepal. Okay, let's watch this video. You'll also see how Kathmandu was about 60 years ago.
The different civilizations of the East seem to mingle in the Kingdom of Nepal. To the south lies India with Benares and the great river Ganges, so recently visited by the Queen. To the north is Tibet, and on all sides in Kathmandu, the decorations and ornaments betrayed the Buddhist influence and hinted at Chinese culture. This capital of Nepal stands, as it were, at the crossroads of Asia. Refugees from Tibet can almost feel at home in Kathmandu. They can practice their religion openly, for in Nepal, the Buddhist faith exists side by side with Hinduism and often a mixture of both. But now, Western influence and Nepal's long connection with Britain were in evidence. King Mahendra, ruler of Nepal, was the royal host. People gathered hours before the Queen's aircraft was due. Liquid refreshment laid on. At the airport were the youthful King Mahendra and Queen Ratna. Not long ago, they were state visitors to Britain. Now it was Mahendra's turn to be host. He and his entourage were in full uniform to do the royal honors. As the airport is on the small side and the approach difficult, the Queen and Prince Philip traveled in a Dakota, a smaller plane than the Britannia and better suited to short runways. Mahendra's kingdom occupies territory a little over 500 miles in length, and Kathmandu lies among the fertile valleys sheltered by Himalayan foothills. Only a few days earlier, Her Majesty and the Duke had been in Bombay. Now they seem to be in another world, friendly to the West, but holding jealously to its own standard of values and beliefs. Almost everywhere, the sweet smell of incense proclaims the worship of Buddhism. The two monarchs drove away from the airport together. Prince Philip was accompanied by Queen Ratna. Kathmandu, meanwhile, with its population of 100,000 people, went about its daily life. The market carrying on business much as usual. Nepal is a self-supporting country, necessarily so, for communication with the rest of the world is difficult. In fact, not so long ago, it was a dangerous adventure to travel far. Now, a tiger shoot had been organized by King Mahendra for his guests. Quite an army of 327 elephants had been mobilized for the purpose, and to shoot not tiger but film, Pathé cameraman Cedric Baines took to the howdah. Cordoned by a sort of wall of white canvas was the area into which a tiger had been driven by beaters. Tigers have never seen canvas before, and so make no attempt to break out of the compound. Towards the set, as it's called, the Queen and her party were taken on saddled elephants before the serious business of the hunt began. Then, when all was ready, they transferred to howdahs. This is a land whose people have always lived under the menace of marauding tigers. The technique of hunting them, to keep their numbers within as safe bounds as possible, was perfected long ago. Keen eyes peered at the undergrowth. And yes, there was the tiger. As the Duke had a whitlow on his trigger finger, the tiger was not royally slain. Nor was it even shot by the Foreign Secretary, who had an off day. However, Rear Admiral Bonham Carter and Sir Michael Erdene, between them, put an end to the beast. The tigress measured 8'8".
All right, so it continues about the hunting expedition there. So let's continue with the slides. Okay, so with regards to Janga Bahadur Rana, okay, so when he visited England at the time, okay, so this was around like 1850s, okay, so he was very inspired by the rule of law over in the England, okay, so consequently when he returned back to Nepal, so he enacted this Muluki Ain, new law system here, written law system. So that was the first time when Nepal had the written law. Okay, so before, prior to that, Nepal didn't have any Muluki Ain. Okay, so in terms of we looked at the Nepal's contribution to the Great Britain or the British Empire. Okay, Nepal sent, like many soldiers or many like Gurkha recruits in two great wars as well as different conflicts that Great Britain has around the world. Okay, so in terms of the British contribution to Nepal, we see that after the great earthquakes of the 2015, okay, Great Britain played a crucial role in the rebuilding of Nepal. Okay, and also when we talked about the education system of the UK, okay, we saw similarities between the two countries in the education field. Okay, part of the reason is because the education field in Nepal has been influenced by the education system of the UK. All right. Also, if any of you have gone to the British Council Library, okay, that's one of the main libraries in Nepal. You can read like many books of different like genres in there. Okay. Previously, it used to be in Kantipat. Now it's at the Line-Chor. So if you are interested, you can definitely go there and get more information. Okay, besides the rebuilding effort, Britain also plays crucial role in the besides the humanitarian effort. Okay, it plays its role in infrastructure development, in health sector, in transportation, and so on. Okay, it's one of the leading countries to give foreign aid to Nepal. Okay. And you can also find the British influence or some contribution of Britain in sports in Nepal, like say in the football, right? When it comes to the game of football, and also in entertainment, like we talked about, like BBC networks, right? So BBC Radio used to be, you could get the signal. I think you still can, okay, from here, okay, as well as the BBC, the news channel, and so on. It, there was this channel from long ago, okay, so you can see the influence of that in Nepal. Okay, so let's look a short video on the 200 years of service, like British Gurkha regiment to the British Empire. Okay.
To their opponents, the Gurkhas are known as the most feared body of fighting men in the British Army. And this year saw them celebrate 200 years of loyal service to Britain. And now a new book, The Gurkhas' 200 Years of Service to the Crown, uses 200 pictures to illustrate their incredible history. And here to tell us about it is the book's author, Major General Craig Lawrence. Thank you for coming in. It is a wonderful book, and I'm just wondering if you can tell us a little bit about the history and how about British rule in India and the Gurkhas and how they started.
Yes, the East India Company, 1814, was expanding north, trying to increase its territories. The Nepalese were expanding to the west and to the east, and conflict was inevitable. On the 31st of October 1814, Major General Sir Rollo Gillespie, leading a force of 4,000 men against a defending force of 650 people, was killed. That then started what was really a succession of 2 years of combat between Nepal and the East India Company. And during the middle of that, the East India Company, recognizing a good thing when they saw it, started recruiting Gurkhas. And they've been in the service ever since. And that's what the book, as you say, commemorates. This picture here, for example, was taken in 1857 during the Indian Mutiny, when Gurkhas remained loyal to the East India Company and didn't mutiny along with the rebels. And those soldiers you see there were the survivors from battles on the ridge that overlooked Delhi. A remarkable story, and it led to Gurkhas becoming a fully fledged part of the British Army, being called riflemen rather than sepoys, and being given a truncheon rather than a colour to commemorate. So a really outstanding achievement.
The book is a collaboration of lots of history, the written word, and pictures as well. We've got more pictures to show now because the Gurkhas, I think I'm right in saying, fought on European soil for the first time in the First World War. We have a picture here from France.
And that's Gurkhas sharpening their kukris, and it's a remarkable story. The first Gurkha Victoria Cross won at the Battle of Loos in 1815 during the First World War, and the figures are quite remarkable. 90,000 Gurkhas served during the First World War, 20,000 casualties, just over 6,000 of them died. And that story continues to this day.
And they fought in many major conflicts, Afghanistan, the Falklands conflict as well.
Yes, in all of those conflicts. They've been a part of every battle that the British have been involved in over those 200 years, and that's the most remarkable thing. This picture here, for example, is the Falklands in 1982, the 7th Gurkhas taking part as part of the task force that went down to liberate the Falklands. And that's a captured Argentinian anti-air gun, I think.
The Gurkhas are sort of shoulder to shoulder with the British Army for many, many years. Why do you think the relationship has worked so well?
I think they've got a lot in common between British soldiers and Gurkha soldiers. Gurkha soldiers are tough, they're resilient, they grow up in a hard country, environment is demanding, and they have shown loyalty, and they have this tremendous camaraderie that British soldiers have as well. And again, here in Afghanistan, this picture taken on one of the Herrick missions in Afghanistan, they've been on every Herrick deployment for the last, gosh knows how many years since we've been there. So they make an absolutely valuable contribution. They're very good at jungle warfare. This picture here shows they have a Gurkha battalion in Brunei that specialises in Gurkha warfare, in jungle warfare, and that transition to Afghanistan has been relatively straightforward for Gurkhas.
The book is also raising money for the Gurkha Welfare Trust. I know you're heavily involved in that as well, and of course in the news recently we've heard so much about Nepal and the devastating earthquake there. Do we know what the situation is there at the moment? It's sort of gone out of the headlines a little bit.
Yes, I mean it still is quite remarkable that the amount of damage that there has been. 8 million people displaced, the huge number of casualties, 8,500 people killed. The Gurkha Welfare Trust, which supports Gurkha soldiers and their families in Nepal, and ex-Gurkha soldiers particularly, has been absolutely involved in this international effort to relieve the symptoms of the earthquake. They have 34 welfare centres, operational centres throughout Nepal, which provide a real source of expertise, not just to our own Gurkha charities, but to all the aid agencies that are operating there.
Okay, so in that video you see, the contribution of the Nepal towards the UK, in particular the contribution of the Gurkha recruits wherever the British like a military interest would be. Okay. Okay, so when we talk about the Anglo Nepal War, okay, even though Nepal lost the war, England at the time, the Great Britain, also kind of like had to bear like a huge economic loss because of the war, as well as like the human loss as well. So it was not the Nepalese who suffered. It was the suffering was on both sides, right? Okay, so let's watch another video. This is about how sports unite the two countries. Then we'll talk about the different other aspects between the two countries.
Hillier Gardens just outside Romsey because of this, the Gurkha Memorial Garden. It's been nearly 3 years since that historic ruling. Joanna Lumley shouting triumphantly her war cry as Gurkhas are given the right to live in Britain. But no one could have predicted how many Nepalese people would choose to settle in one particular part of Hampshire. As Nick Wallace finds out, that's been causing tensions.
Aldershot is known as the home of the British Army, but some people are beginning to call it Little Nepal, and not in a good way. Since Joanna Lumley's campaign to give Gurkhas and their families the right to settle in this country, thousands have moved to this town and the surrounding area. It's now thought 10% of the population are Nepalese.
Not surprisingly, this big influx over a short period has brought tension, particularly amongst some of the young people. In the local parks especially, there have been real problems between the two communities, and one local youth worker has been watching the situation get worse.
There isn't any integration or mixing going on. It tends to be a big group of Nepalese people in the parks.
And has that led to confrontations?
Yes. Yes.
And they can get violent?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Every time I'm in there, I have to run. Because you get like all the Nepalese coming up here, start chasing us and stuff.
Well, I've had a few fights with them, like at school. I got jumped at school like by 7 of them.
So they come in and basically take over?
Bully us out of our park, basically.
Last summer, whilst riots were going on in other parts of the country, Manor Park here in Aldershot was seen as a potential tinderbox. The police were granted a dispersal order, allowing them to move youngsters out of the area, and things did calm down. But it seems whenever there's a big event in Aldershot, trouble is never far away.
In every fun fair, there's a fight going on somehow. We don't know how, but somehow there is always going to be a fight there, I don't know.
Now, how bad does it get?
There's about 3 or 4 police vans pulls up, like, you know, pretty bad.
And when the white kids say it's you guys who are starting it, you're causing the problem, what do you think?
It's like every time different people start, it's not just us, it's not just them. I mean, everyone starts, you know, to be truthful.
These young men, sons of Gurkha soldiers, have come here to make a new life with their families. They have to deal with a new language and an alien culture, and many have had a hostile reception.
There's lots of white people who's being racist to us, you know, like different colors. We have a different color of skins.
Like they swear to us, say it's different. I mean, say different, called by different names, and they say like go to your own country like that. So we can't bear it, you know. So it's a bit difficult actually dealing with them.
And that's so true.
It's clear there's a big divide between the two communities. Suspicions, misunderstandings, and little dialogue.
They just want to stick together. They don't want to like be friends with like white people.
The older like Nepalese people, like the elders, they're all right, aren't they? Yeah. Nothing's wrong with them. It's just the young uns.
You're not telling me it's always them kicking off, is it?
No. But when that's true, and that's it's both of us.
Yeah.
But it's just like when we're on our own, they like to start. But when we're with a group and there's a few of them, we like to start.
Where do you see this going if something isn't done?
Someone's going to end up on the slab, yeah. Definitely.
100%. It's not will it happen, it's when it's going to happen, and that is a definite. If we don't stop it now, or try to stop it now, it's going to just escalate, and you're going to lose a whole generation of people with resentment towards each other. It's, you know, I know there's ways around it, but no one seems to be trying to help at the moment.
This man is trying to do something. When his wife couldn't get an appointment with the local GP because of the numbers of new Nepali patients, it was the final straw. He started a Facebook page highlighting the problems.
I actually signed a petition for the Gurkhas' rights to come to the UK. I just think it was ill thought out. Too many people, too fast. And I wanted to voice my concerns
rather than just doing it in a pub or just to friends, sort of on a larger scale. So I started a Facebook group, and just to see what would happen. And then over the next sort of 72 hours, we had over 1,000 members join.
Despite some racist postings on the site, Sam is adamant it isn't a platform for bigots. He wants it to be a force for good between the two communities.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 3 children, and at the point when I started the group, my newest son was 2 weeks old, and I was basically sat there on a sofa thinking, is this the Aldershot I want my family to grow up in? I didn't want them to grow up in a divided community, you know, with hate and segregation, and I just wanted something to change.
Like Sam, youth worker Richard Cooper is trying to build bridges. At the town's youth club, locals are cooking the Nepalis a traditional English meal, curry. But the biggest challenge will be bringing together those factions involved in the confrontations. Richard thinks he might have the answer. The beautiful game, a football match with both sides playing together.
Try and get a united Rushmore for the best.
It's not rocket science, you know. It's food and football. It's two of the most sociable, easy, organised activities you can get. The challenge is obviously the integration part of it. Even on a controlled football pitch environment, you know, I've sort of started to notice a slight shift in viewpoints over the last couple of weeks, even, you know, just in terms of, yeah, you know what, it's about time we shook hands.
You say you'd like to sort it out. What actually needs to be done?
I reckon bonding together.
Group activities.
Yeah, just get us all in a group, say like 7 of us and 7 of them, do basketball, what they do, that's because they play basketball, and then play football, what we do, what the English people are, because we love playing football and that.
If the community wants to get together, I guarantee we will be the first one to put our hands out and, you know, say we want to be friends, because we really do want to be friends. I mean, this is a whole new country for us, and, you know, it's not like back home, like, you know, so, you know, to make more friends, that's all we want.
It's 3 months since the idea of the match was first suggested. Today's the big day, but will enough people turn up?
Now, the teams are going to be mixed, so it's no us and them. Let's just see what sort of bridges can be built over the next 90 minutes.
Marley, Ute, Papu, Mika, Danu, and that's Reese, Harry, Nath, Jamie. I'm buzzing for this game. It's gonna be good. I can't wait. It's like, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen.
We don't really like play with them, but it'd be good to get involved with them and that.
This is one of the main boys as well, from what happened with the fights and that and stuff like that.
Can't be bothered to fight with them anymore. Just want to get on with them and stuff.
You're here for one thing, and that is to play football. Okay? You're on one team. You're on one side with one idea to change Aldershot. Okay, and every one of you is here to make that choice today, all right?
As the teams are picked, with Nepali and white lads playing together, the spectators are getting to know each other too.
Stanley, yeah, nice to meet you. Another one of the dads, and I'll take it you're one of the dads as well.
Yeah, it's my cousin, both of those, yeah.
The older generation are supporting the youngsters, keen to see new friendships made.
I always love British people because we are here in their country, so we have to integrate with them.
You deserve to be here.
So
you deserve to be here.
That is my one perception, yeah. So I tell my cousins, those are my cousins, so don't fight with British people. Try to talk to them. You try to share the ideas with them.
If there's any problems with the kids from my side of it, or any of my kids, or anything like that, then you just give me a ring, and we need to sort things out.
Yeah.
The match kicks off, and it quickly becomes obvious the game is more important than any feuds. It's competitive, but there are no flare-ups. Months of racial tension begin to drain away.
By doing all this, like, and everyone getting together, like, playing football, everyone's changing and that. It's like getting everyone together to make a team and that. We play together, nifty and work people, and make friendship more, so that there won't be any trouble in our hometown.
It's hoped this match will be the first of many, and that these players will form a regular team called United Rushmore, which will compete in the local leagues.
It was a nice game. Get to know more people.
It's doing really well. It's going good.
So it's firm handshakes, eye-to-eye contact, a few smiles. Reckon it's working out?
Yeah. And I think a couple of them actually are right people there. Like, when you get to know them and speak to them, they're nice people.
If all goes well, these lads will bring football success to the town and a positive legacy for future generations.
Fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, everyone here for the same thing all together was quite a sight.
Do you think you got a bright prospects then?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know under dissolution, so I mean, it's not fixed.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've got, what, 25, 30 guys there that are now starting a new friendship, so yeah, absolutely. This is the future, isn't it, eh? The future of Aldershot, yeah? You're all so proud of your town, yeah? And your choices today, change comes through choice. And you're all here today out of choice because you want to make a difference to the town you're going to grow up in, okay? This is where all of the racial tension stops between you guys.
All right, so in that video you saw about how sport, in particular football, played a crucial role in bringing about the, in merging the intercultural divide there between the Nepali community who moved to one of the towns in England and the basically the original inhabitants there, right? Okay, so let's move forward with the slides. Okay, so let's look at the trade relationship between Nepal and India. So up until 2015, okay, so before the great earthquake, okay, of 2015, Nepal was at the trade deficit with the UK. Okay, that means Nepal was importing more goods from the UK than it exported. Okay, so after the earthquake, when things started to basically get normal, so afterwards, Nepal had the trade surplus with the UK. Okay, in terms of the items of the trade between from the Nepal to UK, so Nepal chiefly exports the items of handicraft like pashminas, like products, paper products, garments, as well as silverware, jewelries, right? So these are the chief export from Nepal to UK. All right. So in terms of export from the UK to Nepal, that would be like chocolate products, like the alcohol products, right? So these would be some of the products that are exported from UK to Nepal. Okay. So in terms of the tourism contribution of from Great Britain to Nepal, so Great Britain has been steadily contributing towards the tourism in Nepal, and about like around 5% of the total tourist visits. Like if we look at the data, okay, so it was around the 5.3% in 2011. So up even like so in 2015 it saw a slight decline because of the natural disaster. Then it picked up back again even more. Okay, so it went up to 6.15% of the total tourist visit in Nepal. Okay, so this year, because of the pandemic, Nepal, I assume the data will be low for not only for the the British tourists, but for the tourists all around the world. And it's not just Nepali thing. Okay, tourism around the world has been hit pretty heavily because of this pandemic situation. Okay, so that's basically what I have for you guys in terms of the relationship between Nepal and the UK. Okay, so we looked at the historical aspect, we looked at the war between the England and Nepal, okay, up until now, okay, as well as the trade relationship and so on. Okay, so hopefully you guys learned something from today's class. All right, so that's basically what I have for you guys. I don't think there's enough time for the presentation for today. So what you can do for those of you who still needs to give their presentation, we can use maybe tomorrow or maybe on Friday for your presentation. Just have your presentation ready, and we'll do that. Okay.